Jessica Tarloff goes on a pro-vax screaming rant on Fox going after and is pushed back by Kylie McEnany and the other reasonable hosts. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Part of why we're happy is because we're trying to live in the truth. We're looking for the truth here. The news is pushing all this stuff on you. And COVID vaccine is one thing that touched every single American, whether if you took it or not, whether if you were locked down or not. Your kids were locked down. Parents weren't allowed to go to their kids' ceremonies. People weren't allowed to be in the same room for a wedding. You weren't allowed to go. Your spouse, if she deceased, you couldn't go to their funeral. That's how far-reaching and evil it was. This is about free speech, COVID. Who's trying to stop you from thinking different and saying anything different? And we're into free speech, and Jessica Tarloff, she's going to just go nuts here.
That's why RFK Jr. should have never gotten anywhere near HHS and should have given him some role at USDA and let him, work on the stuff that was actually bipartisan. This role is so unbelievably out of his league. It's hard to comprehend. And you say the media is melting down. The media is Senator Bill Cassidy, Senator John Barroso, Senator John Kennedy, Senator Tom Tillis, all Republicans that voted to confirm him, who are saying we are denying people vaccines.
They are not saying that we are denying people vaccines. That's the first lie. She's going to get stomped all over on this one. That's why it's important for me to do a show about this. The word going out is RFK Jr. is denying people vaccines. No one has been denied a vaccine so far. That's all we know. And I'm just reporting facts here. Now, John Kennedy, the proof having Republicans against RFK Jr. proves that this is not a top-down jam down, but that people are allowed. They're not just going on board with RFK Jr. or they lose their jobs. That's what happened to those of us who opposed the Biden regime on their dictatorial opinion on everything COVID, everything mask, everything shut down. If you disagreed with the insect state, the massive hive on that one, you lost your job. My daughter was in nursing. If she didn't take the jab, they would kick her out of nursing. She was in her senior year. And she was the only member of my family that got the jab. She had to stay in school. She didn't have to. She could have dropped out. Whatever. And look, I'm not crazy. I'm not a crazy anti-vaxxer either. I'm like, do what you want, but the idea that now people are being denied and rejected facts and science is not true. We saw that in the last 4 years with a psychotic, out of control state that made children, that was pressuring children. Remember vaccine passports? They were going to say you couldn't travel unless you had this little card that proved you were vaccinated. This was nuts. There was symphonies where they were wearing these giant hazmat suits to keep from being able to share each other's air. It was nuts.
You promised to uphold the highest standards for vaccines and have not done so.
What vaccines has he denied someone?
Oh, right. COVID-19. Exactly.
Who can't get a COVID-19 shot?
Erickson's wife to begin, and Bill Cassidy used.
Wait a second. You mean you can't walk into your doctor's office and get a COVID-19 shot?
Why don't you ever prepare? Why don't you prepare? Kathy Hochul had to do it.
True?
No, it's not true.
She's just screaming. Why don't you ever prepare? That's not an argument. She didn't give a reason. She didn't answer Jesse Waters, who said, where are you denied a COVID vaccine anywhere in the United States? So this is hysteria. And this is their religion. It's the pro-shot religion. Look, when I walk around in public and I see people wearing a mask in public, and you'll see them at parades and stuff, I go, oh, I already know how you voted. I get it. You're a Democrat. I get it.
It is true.
He reclassified it.
Stop.
He reclassified
Haley, you now need a prescription, and CVS and Walgreens is denying it to people because of the quote-unquote regulatory environment. You can thumb your...
Wait a minute, I got to get Kylie's look here. That's the J.D. Vance look. She's like, yeah, right.
You can thumb your nose at it. You are healthy and lucky you.
This is why
but there are
even
sick
Senator
people.
Warren, I assume you look up to Senator Warren. She said effectively denied. Effectively.
Well, Bill Cassidy
you mean insurance doesn't cover it if you're healthy?
No,
is
that's
that
not what I mean.
About?
I mean that you need a prescription to get it. It is becoming...
Now, Jessica Tarloff is screaming so loud that fans are demanding she get fired. If she's going to act this disrespectful and just shout and scream, look at her. She's going nuts. Watch. She's going to bark at this other lady in a second here, too.
What?
Okay.
You shouldn't.
If you're healthy, you don't need a COVID vaccine. If you want
You're
one,
not.
pay the
I'm
extra
talking about a
$100.
woman with stage 4 cancer.
They can get it if you have stage 4
Eric
cancer.
Erickson's
Jessica.
wife cannot. He wrote about it. He talked about it.
I don't know anything about his wife, but
First of all, this is not a state-by-state basis, Jessica. This wasn't a blanket.
There are 16
I'll
states
give you
where
this. There has been some confusion. There's been some confusion.
How big of you to admit that, Sandra? Come on.
Oh my gosh. There's been some confusion. How big of you to admit that? I'm going to look at, we got to do this again. I got to look at this look because this gal, Jessica Tarloff, is done.
Some confusion.
How big of you to admit that, Sandra? Come on.
How big of you to admit that, Amber?
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to get off that lunacy. This is Dr. Robert Malone. He was a big when I say anti-vaxxer, I just mean they question the science. They're going, hey, can we get more science on this? And now this is weird. This is the leaking of a memo by big pharma lobbyists to derail Make America Healthy Again and have Secretary Kennedy fired by the end of September. So this rolled out as a formal thing. And are you ready for this? We went into this yesterday about positions on India paying conservative influencers $1,000 per post to get RFK fired. Did you hear that?
There's two major pharmaceutical industry lobbying groups. One is called Pharma and the other is called Bio. Pharma is more biased towards, let's say, petroleum-based compounds, and Bio is more biased towards vaccines, biologics, and of course, the RNA products. Bio's the smaller of the two. Bio has a total war chest for lobbying and influencing of about 4 million. And a memo was leaked a little while ago from a recent meeting held at Bio. They have not denied this in any way, that they decided to deploy 2 million of their 4 million war chest with the specific objective of having the secretary fired by the end of September.
So this is how media works. Many of you are like, you want to know what my methods are. I spend a lot of time talking about culture, the way messaging goes throughout the internet and into yours and my head about where we're at today. It's not by accident, okay? And how political thoughts are put out in the public. Are they organic and bubbling up from truth? Or are they completely manipulated by influencers like me? Influencers are paid to promote products, to take stands. I'm not, but I'm only saying there is amount of money tied to every idea going out there, including like the NRA that want to promote the Second Amendment. They'll promote certain things and put money over here. And the pharmaceuticals are throwing money around like crazy. To me, it doesn't bother me that people are paid to say certain things. I get mad when MAGA right-leaning conservatives take money to oppose Trump. That was my beef with that India thing yesterday. I'm only saying to you guys, culture is enormous. The arts and how you communicate is huge. Being an effective communicator, and then when you add money to it, you got to be careful what people say. That's why I also believe free speech is very important, because that's one way that you counter the monetary influence. Here's that same Robert Malone who was in that last clip that we just now watched. Did you know that the Atlantic Monthly, so everyone knows about the Atlantic Monthly, quote, hate Malone, the anti-vaxxer, they call him. The Atlantic Monthly hates Malone, this Dr. Malone, the anti-vaxxer is how they label him. The article was proudly funded by the Wellcome Trust and the Mark Zuckerberg Chan Initiative. And remember, Zuckerberg was sitting with Trump yesterday at the White House. So Zuckerberg funds messaging that went out through the Atlantic, out into the public, that Robert Malone is a hater and anti-vax, and that it came out right after Peter Navarro, the guy that went to jail for Trump, and I published an op-ed in the Washington Times criticizing Biden-Harris's COVID policies. And he does hashtag PsyWar, psychological warfare. The vaccine scientist spreading vaccine misinformation. Robert Malone claims to have invented mRNA technology. He did, by the way. Why is he trying so hard to undermine its use? Because he knows it so well. He invented it, you dummy. Here's the big propaganda-looking illustration. I'm an illustrator also. They've got 2 vaccines over Dr. Malone's face. This is troubling in the public sphere of things. And this is them trying to manipulate you. Wait, there's more here. This is Michael Schellenberger, one of my favorite journalists of all time. He's the one that helped break the Twitter files. He and Matt Taibbi worked with when Elon Musk first bought the company, released the Twitter files to Michael Schellenberger. The Twitter files revealed the IC's scheme to create fake NGOs, non-government organizations, that's like the US that were funded with USAID. They wash their money back into the Democrat Party and do all their propaganda work. NGOs, front groups to demand censorship. That last Dr. Malone, Jay Bhattacharya, all these anti-COVID and ones who came out and were against the Wuhan wet market and saying that it obviously was created and made in the lab by Dr. Fauci, they all got deplatformed and silenced en masse. We're going to go into free speech a lot today. They demand censorship and spread disinformation. We knew the Department of Homeland Security, the NSF, and Stanford College did it. That is, the scientific institutions censored opposition. Now we know Macron, the head of France, did it. And I'll testify about the scheme to the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Tuesday coming this week. I'm giving you a little hint at what news we're going to be covering coming up. More revelations to come. This is Twitter Files France. At this moment, the Trump administration is negotiating with the EU over final obstacles to a trade deal, one of which is European censorship of US social media platforms. So right now, the EU is trying to keep censorship going. I've got a lot of Brits in my audience over there. I've got Canadians, and your government in Britain, Keir Starmer, they're going nuts. They're imprisoning people widespread for saying anything against the government, including talking about sexual assault statistics of Muslims against their citizens. Man, you go to jail, it's called hate speech, they'll call it. So Trump is trying to, and this is on behalf of Elon Musk also, to pry open free speech in Europe if they're going to do business with the US. This is another thing that Apple CEO Cook went to Trump and begged him, going, you gotta get UK off my back, man. They're trying to shut down our phone, and they're trying to censor us. So I'm going to go into a lot of this stuff on all this censorship a little more today. But wait, here's more. This is 2 minutes of Rand Paul on Fauci, because how the misinformation was spread.
The convergence of interest in COVID was, holy crap, we funded this. And so if you are Anthony Fauci and you know that you've made a deal to do very dangerous research in China, one, because there's less oversight in China and there's complaints beginning to circulate in America, let's outsource this to China. What's your first thought? We got to cover this up. And that's exactly what he was doing. The phone calls went on in my book. My wife helped me write it.
Wait, and this goes back to why we have to undo the auto pen, because Fauci has a lot of cover under that auto pen. Reversing the auto pen is key. I'm going to continue to cover the auto pen all next week. I hope you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And then finally, I'm going to end on my stance on science is repeated by RFK Jr. This is what Democrats hate. This is why they have to censor RFK Jr. This guy is sane and very good. This is RFK.
We have to acknowledge that there was a cause. We acknowledge that there was a benefit. We can't quantify either one because of the data chaos at CDC. And that's
data chaos at the Center of Disease Control. Data. We want the data. You and I want facts. I'm trying to get data. And it was the Center of Disease Control that scrambled the data.
all I'm saying. And they think I'm being evasive because I won't make a kind of a statement that's almost religious in nature. Did it save 1 million lives? Well, there's no data to support that. Or maybe data, there's no study that there's modeling studies, there's faulty data. I'm not going to sign on to something if I can't do it to a scientific certainty. It doesn't mean that I'm, anti-vax. It just means I'm pro-science.
He's pro-science. He wants scientific certainty. He's not anti-vax. He's pro-science. So are we. You have to have certainty, scientific certainty. It's why I know that we call for, hey, arrest that guy. You have to have scientific certainty before you can throw someone in jail, before you can arrest them. Arrests are happening. Piero's arresting all kinds of people in DC. But we want scientific certainty. I vow to you, I promise you, I'm trying to get the facts out to you because I believe you care also about facts more than turning this stuff into a religion or politicizing and scrambling data. We want to live in the truth. That's why I appreciate you guys for listening. I think I've attracted the best audience in the world. Bunch of truth seekers. I'm Doug in Exile.